How did a single man steal $64 billion from the smartest people on Earth? It wasn't magic, it was a simple psychological trick that anyone can fall for. This is the story of Bernie Madoff, the man who pulled off the biggest Ponzi scheme in history, and how he used our own minds against us. Bernard Lawrence Madoff. To the outside world, he was a Wall Street legend, a self-made billionaire, former chairman of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, and a respected philanthropist. He ran a legitimate market-making business on one floor of his Manhattan office, a business that was pioneering and highly successful. But on another floor, the infamous 17th floor, he ran a secret, separate enterprise, a massive Ponzi scheme that would eventually unravel, wiping out fortunes and devastating thousands of lives. So what exactly is a Ponzi scheme? It's surprisingly simple. Imagine I promise you a fantastic, guaranteed return on your investment, say 10% a year, no matter what the market does. You give me your money. A year later, I pay you that 10% return. You're thrilled. But here's the secret. I didn't actually invest your money. I just used money from new investors to pay you. As long as new money keeps coming in, I can keep paying the old investors, and everyone thinks they're getting rich. The whole system looks legitimate, but it's a house of cards. The moment people want their money back, and I can't find enough new investors, the entire thing collapses. This is exactly what Madoff did, but on an unimaginable scale. For decades, he promised steady, consistent returns of around 10 to 12% a year. In the volatile world of Wall Street, where markets go up and down, this was incredibly appealing. It wasn't ridiculously high, which would have raised red flags. It was just good. Consistently good. And that consistency was the first key to his deception. He made it look boringly reliable. But how did he convince so many savvy investors, financial institutions, and even celebrities? This is where the psychology comes in. Madoff didn't just sell returns. He sold exclusivity. He created an aura of being an elite private club. You couldn't just walk in and give him your money. You had to be invited. You had to know someone. This made people desperate to get in. He would often turn people away, telling them his fund was closed. This wasn't a sales tactic. It was a powerful psychological play. It created scarcity and social proof. If it's that hard to get into, it must be amazing, right? Think about it. When you see a long line outside a restaurant, you automatically assume the food must be great. Madoff applied the same principle to finance. His investors weren't just clients. They were members of an exclusive circle. They would brag at country clubs and dinner parties about being with Bernie. This word-of-mouth marketing was more powerful than any advertisement. It built a myth around him. He wasn't just a fund manager. He was a status symbol. The second psychological weapon Madoff used was authority. He was the former chairman of Nasdaq. He was a respected figure on Wall Street. He had the credentials. People tend to trust experts and authority figures, often without asking too many questions. When someone with Madoff's resume tells you they have a secret, proprietary trading strategy, you're inclined to believe them. He leveraged his reputation to create a cloak of legitimacy that was almost impenetrable. Who are you to question Bernie Madoff? He also understood the power of affinity. Madoff heavily targeted his own community, particularly wealthy Jewish communities in New York and Florida. He was a prominent member of these communities, donating generously to their charities and synagogues. He built trust through shared culture and connections. People felt comfortable investing with him because he was one of them. This is a common tactic for fraudsters. It preys on our natural tendency to trust people who are similar to us. It feels safer, more personal. But in this case, it was a devastating betrayal. So you have exclusivity, authority, and affinity all working together. But what about the numbers? Surely, someone must have looked at the statements and realized something was wrong. Well, here's the genius, or rather, the evil genius of his plan. The statements he sent out were completely fake. They were created in-house, showing a steady stream of fictional trades that always resulted in a small, consistent profit. No wild swings, no huge losses. Just a slow, steady climb. For years, people received these statements and felt secure. The numbers looked plausible. They weren't astronomical, just reliably good. This consistency calmed any fears. It's a phenomenon called confirmation bias. Investors wanted to believe they had made a smart choice, so they looked for evidence that confirmed it. The steady returns were that evidence. They ignored the red flags because the story Madoff was selling was just too good, too comforting, to question. And there were red flags, big ones. For years, a financial analyst named Harry Markopolos tried to warn the Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC, he did the math, and concluded it was mathematically impossible for Madoff to be achieving the returns he claimed with his supposed strategy. Markopolos famously told the world's largest Ponzi scheme is hiding in plain sight. He submitted detailed reports, but for years the SEC failed to act. They conducted multiple investigations, but were either intimidated by Madoff's reputation or simply didn't dig deep enough to uncover the fraud happening right under their noses. Madoff's entire investment advisory business was a black box. He claimed his strategy was too complex to explain, and people accepted that. The desire to believe, combined with a fear of looking stupid for asking questions, created the perfect environment for his lies to fester. The end came in 2008. The global financial crisis hit, and the stock market plummeted. Just like in any Ponzi scheme, the moment the music stops, the whole thing falls apart. Madoff's investors, spooked by the market crash, started asking for their money back. They wanted to withdraw a total of about $7 billion. But there was a problem. There was no money. The new investments had dried up, and the house of cards finally collapsed. In December 2008, with no way out, Bernie Madoff confessed to his sons, Mark and Andrew, who both worked in the legitimate side of his business. He told them it was all one big lie. They immediately went to the authorities. The next day, the FBI arrested Bernie Madoff, and the world learned the shocking truth. The fallout was catastrophic. The $64 billion figure you hear is the amount on the fake statements, the paper wealth that people thought they had. The actual amount of cash stolen was closer to $20 billion. But for the victims, the number didn't matter. Their life savings were gone. Charities, foundations, and university endowments were wiped out. People lost their homes, their retirement funds, and their futures. The stories were heartbreaking. People who had lived comfortable lives were suddenly left with nothing, all because they trusted one man. Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison, the maximum possible sentence. He died in prison in 2021. The story serves as a chilling reminder of the power of psychological manipulation. Madoff didn't need a complex algorithm or a magic formula. He exploited basic human desires: the desire for security, the desire for status, and the desire to belong. He understood that we are not always rational creatures, especially when it comes to money. We are driven by emotion, by trust, and by the stories we tell ourselves. So what can we learn from this? First, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Consistent, high returns with no risk simply do not exist in the real world of investing. Second, always do your own due diligence. Don't just rely on a person's reputation or what your friends tell you. Ask tough questions. Demand transparency. Understand exactly where your money is going and how it's being invested. A legitimate advisor will welcome your questions. A fraudster will get defensive. And finally, be wary of exclusivity. If someone makes you feel like you're being led into a secret club, that should be a warning sign, not an enticement. The Bernie Madoff story isn't just a tale of financial crime. It's a story about human nature. It shows how easily trust can be weaponized, and how a compelling narrative can blind even the smartest people to the truth. He didn't just fool Wall Street. He fooled all of us by showing just how vulnerable we are to the right kind of lie. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. See you next time.